Hi everyone, here are your horoscopes for the winter solstice up through the spring equinox. These readings will encompass the time period from December the 21st, 2021 up until March 20th of 2022. Now, I know that this starts at the winter solstice, but obviously I've gotten these videos out a little bit after the winter solstice, but that's okay. It is still applicable. So whenever you are listening to this is definitely when you're supposed to be listening to this. And again, I will set these readings out for the celestial checkpoints. So we're going to have this first one for the winter solstice until the spring equinox, and then the spring equinox till the summer solstice to autumn equinox, and then autumn equinox until the winter solstice again. I'm doing it this way because it's much more digestible for me and for you when we go over a longer time span, I feel. And also it allows things to just be and to take place. Sometimes when we go too far ahead, we get in our own head, and then we can unconsciously alter events that are meant to take shape for us. So anyway, I just like to do this in little digestible chunks. I hope that you find these helpful. I did this according to the whole sign house system. So each horoscope will be for the sun and rising sign. So Aries sun, Aries rising will be one video. Taurus sun, Taurus rising will be another video. If you know your rising sign, you may want to follow that one above the sun sign. Now, if you don't resonate with that, don't worry. You just follow your sun sign, completely accurate and applicable. But if you know your rising sign, you may want to download that video as well, because some find they resonate more with their rising sign. Long story short, the rising sign basically sets the whole chart for a person, for an individual. And I've based the readings off of the whole house system. So anyway, if you need to know or would like to know how to calculate your rising sign, there is a video linked below. Really quick, really simple, really easy way to go and do that so that you can find out your rising sign. So let's mention the big transits that are coming up for the first half of 2022. We start off with Jupiter's entrance into Pisces. Actually, Jupiter will enter Pisces on December 28th of 2021 and will remain in Pisces until May 10th of 2022. And then Jupiter will move into Aries from May through October, and then we'll go back into Pisces from October to December. So we go into much more detail about what that means for each sign, but also collectively, this is a positive, optimistic, and hopeful and expansive energy. Then in the middle of January, we will have our nodal shift. The nodal axis will shift. So we've had the North Node in Gemini, and it currently still is, and the South Node is in Sagittarius. And then when the nodes shift on January the 18th, 19th, they're going to move from Gemini into the North Node being now in Taurus, and the South Node will go from Sagittarius into Scorpio. Note that the nodal axis shift always goes in a retrograde motion, so the signs always move back throughout the zodiac versus forward. We're going from the energy of Gemini and Sagittarius, which are both mutable signs and can sometimes give us a scattered energy. We're moving into fixed energy, the fixed energy of Taurus and Scorpio, which strive to stabilize and harmonize and solidify. But of course, not without challenges, as always. And then February and March will provide us with an exciting dancing of Venus and Mars, the two planets of love and relationships. Mars will be fueling Venus for better or worse passionately. There's a lot of energy here. Mars and Venus typically do meet up for a conjunction, and it lasts about maybe 10 days or so, and that's it, and then they move away from each other. But in February and March, they're going to be dancing around each other quite closely, and they will hit exact in both February and March. So again, we're going to watch out for this one, because this will show us a lot of insight into our natures and to our relationships, and outdated structures and relationships may vacate our lives, and new ones, they leave the space for new ones to come in and take form. This is just a very heart-centered beginning to 2022. And then let's not forget that in February, we will experience the Pluto return of the United States, and that will be a big one also. There's a lot of other things going on, and like I said, I do get into a lot more of this in the personalized video. This can work for you in terms of fueling your passion and doing something very positive, but it can also work against you if you're too hasty and too impulsive. So reel it back in and reassess, because again, February for you is a hot button month, and I just, I want to emphasize that, because I would hate to see you lose something of importance by acting too quickly or being too impulsive. You know, Aries, you're ruled by Mars, right? And Mars fuels you, and Mars is in Capricorn right now at this point, conjunct Venus in your 10th house. So Mars is your ruling planet, okay? And it wants you to act, and it wants you to steamroll and forge ahead. But in Capricorn, it can, you know, Mars is also does very well in Capricorn. And so there's this whole like Emperor strikes back kind of an energy here that I want you to be mindful of, because you are going to be feeling quite aggressive at this point, quite sensitive, quite emotional, and you don't want to fly off the handle. So, you know, remember, we always feel the energy coming in before it actually hits. So you may already be saying, oh my gosh, I'm feeling this, and it's hitting you and you're experiencing what I'm saying. So this is why I do this, because I want you to achieve your best results and according to who you truly are. And all signs have their stuff, right? Again, I feel like Saturn is helping things along for you too, Aries. So if you lean in and do the work and tap into how can I be more innovative? How can I make this work? How can I be more for others? And, you know, a little bit less about the self at this time, that will also go a very long way. Okay, now let's show you your chart for March 1st. Whew. I can already feel it when I look at it. Sensitivity's increased. The heat is on. You've got Pluto. We've got this triple conjunction in Capricorn of Pluto, Venus, and Mars. Oof, in your 10th house of career and public image and reputation. And so again, this is like the heat is on. Everything I just said, times 10, in fuego, on fire. This is a good time if you want to use this energy for writing projects or PowerPoint presentations or anything that you're passionate about getting your message out about. But again, just be mindful of setting off a spark here, because you're definitely at your, you know, there's also something here about putting things together for the future. There's something about setting a cycle for the next 2 years having to do with something with your work. So if you are doing some sort of a writing project or something that you really want to get out into the universe, out into the world, this is the time to get that really started, because I feel like you may even find that help comes in from out of nowhere, quote unquote. Inspiration comes to you. You meet the right people at the right time to help propel you forward on this next part of your journey, which I feel has a lot to do with writing and lecturing for some of the Aries that are watching this. There's a strong emphasis here on that. You're absolutely more sensitive than normal. Again, more sensitive than what you might potentially be comfortable with, and that's okay. Who am I being loyal to? And that's the question. That's the piece that gets answered at this point. And again, when you release lovingly, when you let go, when you allow yourself to experience the experience of letting go and feeling that energy, and yeah, it's going to be hurtful for a time, and yes, it can feel disarming and nerve-wracking, and when you're used to something or someone and that's not a part of your reality any longer, there's a process with that. There's a process of you know, it's almost like a death of something. It goes away, but new life will always come in to take its place, and that is a fact. So energetically speaking, just keep in mind that as you release, as you allow, as you let go, you're also allowing increase and new things that are in more alignment with your soul and who you are today to come into your reality. And this is definitely the time, February, mid-February, where you're likely going to start to see, really see, truly see the benefits of allowing and letting go and letting the change come in and letting the change take place. And then we get to March, and the biggest piece of the month of March is that we've got Pluto, Venus, and Mars conjunct, working together. And again, the Capricorn energy gels nicely with your Taurus. But, you know, Pluto, Mars, and Venus, especially Pluto and Mars, they place a finger on the pulse. They turn the heat up. And again, you know, Pluto, Mars, and Venus, what do they turn the heat up in? Our relationships. It's the way that we relate. It's our deep psychological behaviors and underpinnings. Again, falling in the 9th house here of our belief system, and all that we believed to be true before, again, is undergoing this metamorphosis, this deep process of change and letting go of the old and bringing in the new. I feel like a broken record, but there's such an emphasis here for Taurus, because Taurus is the antithesis of change. And I know, because I am one, we know that things need to change, and sometimes it's super difficult. But when it's here and it's like, you know, we continue to get these karmic lessons and implications and things coming up in the form of other people and situations that are consistently showing us again and again and again. And each time it's more and more intense. It's showing us what needs to change, where we need to change, where we've been limiting ourselves, what's been holding us back. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. And the time comes to move forward. And it's no coincidence that as we're getting to the month of March, we're getting to the season of spring. We're getting to the spring equinox that takes place on March 20th, the sun's ingress into the sign of Aries. And this brings in new life, and this initiates a renewal process, the birthing of spring. And you're also the second sign of the zodiac, which falls in the season of spring. So you're going to sustain the new things that you've built that are taking off at this time, or that are at least indicating to you what wants to take off at this time. The choice is always yours to let go, or to get dragged kicking and screaming, or to hang on tightly. And then eventually Uranus is going to just come in and do it anyway for you, Taurus. So it would serve you well to go along with what is being revealed to you, what God, the higher, divine, whatever it is that you believe in, what is being shown to you by way of your faith, because all of that is coming up under this time. And it absolutely has felt heavy, but I do feel like there's a lightening of the energy, a lightening up of the energy increasingly from January, February, and March. Metaphorically speaking, we're literally increasing the light also at this time. So think about it from the spiritual perspective, and metaphorically how that aligns for you, Taurus, because it's all here. And, the other part of this too is, again, I also feel that there's something here about authority, people in positions of authority, people above you, paternal figures, patriarchal figures. This could also have to do with the structures of the government, but feeling like you're getting a little bit of a break at this time with law, rules, and structure in your own life, in your own reality. Could also be collectively because of what's going on, but this feels more personal for you, Taurus, like structures, the reins being let loose a little bit, and you feeling like you have a little more control, which is something that you've been striving for. There's definitely that feeling as we get into the month of March. It's like a lightening of the load, being able to breathe, feeling like you've let go of certain things and you're seeing the benefit of that. Even though it might have been difficult for you to do so, you're definitely seeing the benefit of that, Taurus, at this time. Also about, even though it's a new moon and it's all about bringing in, the month is about letting go of relationships that are no longer serving your soul. They're karmic. Mars and the South Node are still in your 7th house, dancing here for the final moments, and they can pull emphasis on this, like what needs to be released. It is not going to feel easy. Absolutely not. You, Gemini, you've been having these last 18 months worth of eclipses on your 2 points, personal points of your chart, about the self and about relationships. So these areas have been under hyper focus. So you may have been really struggling with having to leave certain aspects of your old life behind, and you might still not be ready to do so. But this is like a closeout, if you will, of the energy in which you might finally actually take a step. You might actually move forward from it. So again, this first part of the year, it does feel, intense. I mean, everything speaking to Gemini is intense. I know that not every sign is feeling this intensity the same way, but for you, Gemini, Sun and Rising, for us, I'll say, it's intense. Now I've gone ahead and moved the dial to mid-month, January 14th. And I want to pull focus up here with Jupiter, benevolent, lovely Jupiter, now in the sign of Pisces in its exaltation, where it loves to be, sitting at the tippy top of your chart, Gemini. Eyes on you, focus on you, spotlight on your career, your public image, your reputation. Use it wisely. The energy in this arena is wonderful. Relationships are still heated up. Okay, the psychological process is still churning and you're still feeling it, but your public face out in the world is emphasized. And this is the time of you doing great work. So use this wisely, and Neptune's in your 10th house as well, Gemini. So it's really increasing this Piscean theme of creative endeavors, spiritual work, what you're putting out into the world. I really feel the spiritual work here with this energy at this time. So for those of you that are doing any type of, Kundalini yoga, meditation, any kind of breath work, anything that's deepening your spiritual studies, amazing time for this. You'll probably find that your third eye blows open under this energy. So if that's something you're working on, I would recommend using lapis lazuli, which is a blue stone that will help you. So there's definitely some Geminis in here that I'm talking to specifically of the third eye opening. This is a great time for you. So yeah, the relationships might be being tested and your psychological processes are deep, but you're figuring out what it is that you want. However, publicly, you're shining, and this is amazing. We're still dealing with Mars and Sagittarius in your 7th house of others, of other people in your life and partnerships. And so you could feel very irritated here. You could still be feeling angry, and it's like you just need to set the record straight. I'm also picking up for whoever's watching this, and again, like I said, these are purchased downloads, so I know if you're here, you were led here, so I'm likely speaking to you. But there's also a music reference that I'm picking up on here. So somebody is either doing songwriting or picked up a new instrument and found that they're really good at it. And this is also going to be a very, very positive time for this endeavor. I'm just picking up on a big music emphasis right now. So the heat is still on. You're still figuring it out, but I applaud you at this point. You've done a lot of hard work, and your efforts are paying off at this point. Jupiter and Mercury and Neptune are in a nice conjunction in your ninth house, still helping you along. I think that work should be stabilizing for you at this point after the changes that you've undergone and experienced these last couple of months. The home life seems to be stabilizing for you, Cancer. I think as you start the next installment here, which is the spring equinox to the summer solstice, when we get towards that summer solstice especially, it's your season. So I think that things are really looking up for you at this point. And you're learning to let go. You're learning to let go of things that you can't control. It has definitely not been an easy process for you at this point, and it's highly emotional. But on the other side of that, there's a great pot of gold here, and that's self-awareness, enlightenment, and a potential new relationship to replace, not to replace, but to when you do away with the old and you release, you make way for the new. You make space for the new. That's just the way that it is. And so several doors are going to be starting to open for you at this point, Cancer. Ooh, got some good ones here. Okay, so the Fool. Well, let me take this off. Sorry. Okay. So we have the Fool. This is you, like, going off on your new journey, independently, trying to figure out what to do next and trying not to jump too quickly and be a literal fool. So you're weighing things out. You're weighing out all sides. And then we've got the Hermit. So you've definitely been, the Hermit, crab. You've definitely been in your shell the last couple of months up until this spring equinox point, really trying to figure things out. You've got all this 9th house activity going on. The Hermit rules spiritual endeavors. The 9th house, that's what it is. So there's been this process of going inward, spiritual awakening, spiritual enlightenment, feeling about looking into what lights you up and what's good for you, the quest of knowledge, and that card is speaking to that. And then you've got the Page of Wands. This is like the fresh, effervescent, young, buoyant energy of fire. It's like you're ready to go out and explore now. You're ready to go out on a new journey in a childlike manner. It's like not feeling so serious in the next couple of months after the spring equinox. As we get to the summer solstice, there's a lightening of the energy for you, and you're definitely feeling more expressive, more creative, more fun. It's like a weight's been lifted, and this could have to do with the ending of certain situations in your life that have been exhausting, and once the weights are off your ankles, you float back up. Anyway, I hope this has helped you, Cancer. Take really good care of yourselves, and make sure you sign up for my newsletter, and also Leo Sun, Leo Rising that are watching this video. There's been this situation going on within one of your connections, or one or more of your connections and or relationships in your life. And this could involve a contract by legal form. So this could be a business contract, or a marriage. And what I want to say is I am feeling the energy of a potential divorce, dissolution of a contract. If it's not an actual divorce, it's a dissolution of a contract, of an important relationship that has been significant for you for quite some time. And you've been likely toying with the possibility about life going on and forward without this relationship or this contract or this person. And so this is going to be very, very pronounced at the time of this new moon. You're going to be feeling like you've got some pep in your step, and you're figuring out where you want to go within these relationships and contracts, okay? Now, I do get I do get a strong emphasis on divorce right now for specific Leos that are watching this, where it's something where you've been sitting idle for quite some time, and now you're at this point where it's basically like time to make a move, and you're definitely feeling the push of that energy. And it's like the tension and the stress are just so paramount for you right now. It's so difficult for you to keep going. And that's what I would advise you to use this new moon energy for, is to find a way to heal this situation, mind, body, spirit. And just know that you will be okay moving forward for those of you that this pertains to. There's a lot of contemplation going on at this time with you, Leo. There's a lot of there's quite a thought process around power dynamics within relationships and contracts, the abuse of power from one party toward you or from you toward another party. And this could also indicate a change of status, which does typically happen if we were to get a divorce. Let's just say your status changes, your public status. And Uranus is up at the top of your chart, still in the 10th house. And again, that relates to our status and our place out in the world. So again, there's a lot here that speaks to changes coming in that you will be the one to initiate. All in all, just know that all is for the greater good, and that if you've been unhappy for a really long time and have had a lot of stress and a lot of pressure and a lot of anger and a lot of angst in a specific connection in your life, then this is how you know. And especially if your physical body has suffered because of this, because I do feel like for some Leos watching and listening to this, there's something about the breakdown of the physical body that's coming in from the emotional distress that you've been under for the last, I want to say, almost 2 years. It feels like it's been quite a bit, Leo, but specifically 2021, this year of 2021 has been really hard on you. Again, you're dealing with that Saturn-Uranus square, and it's not easy, but it's definitely shining a flashlight onto your relationships and connections and showing you where you've been treated less than you deserve, or consequently where you've been the one that's been treating someone else less than they deserve. And so at this time, that relationship could also fall away from. Okay, and then we get to the middle of the month, January 14th, Mercury will station retrograde. And when Mercury stations retrograde, it's always a time of going inward, and it's a stepping back, and it's an introspective period. And wherever it falls in our chart, that's typically the area where we will find ourselves going inward and lamenting over that which has been before and what's going on right now. It's not necessarily a time for action, but it is a time for reevaluation. Now, for you, Leo, you've got this Mercury retrograde in your 7th house, tight with Saturn. And again, this is pulling focus onto those relationships and those connections. I'm sorry, it's just inescapable at this point. This could be the time where you really decide to, quote unquote, drop the hammer in a specific relationship in your life. Now remember, if you're married and you're on the brink of a divorce, this obviously pertains to that. If you are in a business contact or a business contract, then that needs to be severed. This will be the time for that. So use your discretion here about which way this fits in for you. And if this does not make sense for you, Leo, like I said, take it with a grain of salt. But having Mercury retrograde so close to Saturn in the 7th house, also asteroid Diana right here, she speaks to where we want to be independent and free, and this is our true essence and eccentricity and what we want to be known for. And so there's a part of you at this point that could really be feeling like you need to assert your independence, and that, you know, obviously the ending of a relationship or a connection or a contact or a contract will absolutely bring in growth and newness into your life once you are able to actually let go of this. So this could be a time of stepping inward, stepping back, and reevaluating pretty much for the rest of the month of January. And then when you get to February, it's probably more of the time to take some serious action. I feel like the relationships that you've been partaking in and feeling out at this point become more solidified and more structured, and they kind of fall into a little bit of a routine, but not a boring routine, just a routine. Like it's leveling out and it's feeling more comfortable. Now, again, remember, for some of you, this is going to be work. For some of you, this is going to be creative projects. And for some of you, it's going to be romance. So you'll know which way it fits in for you. But again, there's a point as we end this cycle, there's here an emphasis on structure being put into place, and by, you know, things getting a little more serious and a little more stabilized. Still fun, but this is where the deep stuff comes in, and the deep conversations and the real learning and getting to the underpinning of it all. That's what's coming up at this time, and that's also really good and really productive and constructive for you. Now, I also want to mention that something I am picking up on that has to do with the home environment, the home life. For those of you that live potentially near water, or if you've had any kind of issue, no matter how slight it seems, whether it's got to do with a runny toilet or refrigerator or a sink, I want to tell you that at this time it's probably wise to make sure that you take care of that, because I just feel that as we get on through the rest of March and April, we're dealing with Jupiter and Neptune in Pisces. Water issues tend to crop up. So we might, of course, we'll see it in the form of the weather, like hurricanes and floods and things of that nature. We could certainly see that. But water issues and the way your chart's configured, I would say, an issue can crop up around the home. You probably already know about it. It might seem minor at this time. So if you do know what I'm talking about, please tend to it and get it taken care of over the next 4 weeks or so at this point. And you'll be fine. It probably won't be that big of a deal. It's just a little warning, just a little caution, a friendly reminder. If you have forgotten to tend to something water related, but you need to, this will be the time that I would advise you to do so. Now, as we also get to the end of March, money matters can come into high focus, investments and real estate also here for you as well, which, the home situation is all a part of this too. So, it could be because of a water issue, you actually decide that you may want to start looking for someplace else to live. I don't know. I'm just picking that up. It could be. So anyway, you may feel provoked at this time to start looking into a new living situation for yourself, or maybe if you are in a new relationship and it's going really well, you're already talking about potentially moving in together. I don't know. This could go many different ways. But overall, I do feel that the first 3 months of 2022 for you, Virgo, feel pretty good. They feel pretty chill. They feel pretty cathartic. And it feels like, you're learning and you're allowing yourself to be a little more free in your expression, which is fantastic. And I don't think that's easy for you, but hopefully you will allow it. You will allow the process to take place and lean into it. Now, I've gone ahead and pulled some cards for you before we even started, which I have not looked at yet until just now. And interestingly enough, we've got 3 major cards here, which are always very karmic by nature and always speak to important and very fated-like situations and people coming into our lives. And we talked about that for you here, Virgo. So this should help to ground you, Libra. Now, on January 18th, Uranus will station direct, like we mentioned earlier, and this will be in your 8th house. So this is going to feel like you could get information that's necessary and needed for you right now to help propel you forward in your endeavors. So this could be very positive for you, but it also could feel very, jarring. Again, you like things to be balanced and level, and you don't like when you don't know or when things are unexpected. And at this time, it's like expect the unexpected, but I want you to try to think of it as that in the unexpected, a lot of good can actually take place. You're still dealing with the heat on your, personal relationships and contacts and contracts with Chiron in your 7th. I do feel like there's some fated situations that could be happening for you around this time with the 7th house matter. So again, having to do with contracts and contracts of all kinds. This is not just, this is not to say it's simply just marital or just business or, just legal. It may be all in one. It could be all combined, or it could be one out of the 3, or it could just be a mental process that you're experiencing or some hardships in your own mind. But so whatever way this fits for you, you'll know how this applies, but it just feels like the heat is on and you're processing, and like, when am I going to get a break? Now factor in that we're right at the full moon at this point, and it definitely feels like everything is culminating and very emotional and blowing up for you, Libra. So definitely take time at this point, mid-month of January, actually all of January, the whole time from the winter solstice entrance point or whenever you're listening to this video, throughout all of January, I really do feel like it's important for you to take breaks and take care of yourself, because there is a lot going on and this does feel intense. And I do believe it's going to lift, and it's not going to all feel so intense, but let's just talk about this. You've got a full moon. It's a Cancer full moon, by the way. So, a full moon in Cancer, the moon rules Cancer. It's always an emotional full moon, watery. It brings things up. Even if you're not typically an emotional Libra, because Libra is an air sign and can typically detach from the emotion when necessary, of course, depending upon whatever else you've got going on in your chart. But usually Libra's able to kind of detach and take an intellectual standpoint to bring balance and fairness to a situation, even when it involves emotions. Even when you're emotional about it, you have this ability to do so. When we're dealing with a Cancer full moon, it pulls everything up. It really magnifies and intensifies already emotional situations. And so you are going to be feeling more emotional or more emotionally attached than you normally would be. And it's interesting because this full moon takes place in your 10th house, which is your public house. It's your career, it's your public image, it's your face out in the world, it's your legacy. It's opposite the sun in your fourth house. Again, we've got this fourth house energy about the home, the hearth, the family, the lineage, the ancestry. And let's not forget that Venus and Pluto, although they're separating at this point, they are still both in your fourth house, turning up the heat, and Venus is still retrograde at this point. So again, matters of connection having to do with our personal life and our professional life are coming into focus under this full moon energy. It could become enlightening in a very good way. It could become problematic. I don't know. It's going to be different for you, but it depends on how you look at it. This could also be a time of deep, deep, deep healing involving the personal life and the professional life. So this could be very positive for you, Libra, but I won't sugarcoat it. It is going to feel emotional. You are going to feel stressed out. Then as we get towards the end of January, the nodes will shift from Gemini and Sagittarius into Taurus and Scorpio. So now the north node's in Scorpio, the north node's in Taurus, and the south node is in Scorpio. It's pulling focus onto the second and eighth house matters, which both have to do with money, and it's about what and how we value and prioritize what we like. It's our self-worth. It's also the way that we make money. It's our resources, also other people's resources that are available to us. Maybe at this point somebody comes forward and says to you, hey, I can give you this loan, or hey, can I have a loan? You know, there's something here about monetary exchanges that are taking place that feel very fated and very cathartic under this energy. And because we're dealing with Uranus in your eighth house, this could be, and the seventh house, this could be a contract that you're going into with another or with others. And this could increase your self-worth somehow. I don't know. This is just the way that I'm picking this up. Scorpio. So I hope that this has helped you. You've got a lot of stuff going on. You know, I think that things are going to be really positive for you after the soul searching that you've been experiencing. Definitely had a rough go of 2021. Everyone has, but the fixed signs have definitely had probably a little rougher than most because of Saturn, Uranus, and that would be Taurus, Scorpio, Leo, and Aquarius. Anyway, I've pulled some cards for you. I did this prior to even doing this reading. I meditated before I got on and started recording. And so for you, Scorpio and Scorpio rising, I got the High Priestess. These are such pretty cards, by the way. I can't remember the name of the deck, but I got them from somebody on Etsy. High Priestess, which speaks to our intuition and our inner knowledge and all of the unconscious underpinnings, which are very representative of the moon and also of Pluto, which we've been speaking about. And then we've got the Magician. So you've got all the tools to succeed. It's about taking action and bringing things forward and manifesting from your higher mind about what it is that you want and what it is that you need. The Magician also rules over Gemini and Virgo, both signs that are ruled by the planet Mercury, and Mercury rules the third house. And in your chart that I was looking at before, you had a lot of activity centered around that third house and a lot of information coming through about communication. Don't be afraid to have these difficult conversations. The Magician speaks to that. The Magician knows how to... Okay, let's go deeper here with Scorpio energy. Scorpio energy can be manipulative when they want to be, to get what they want or to get the outcome that they desire. And that's no judgment. I'm a Taurus. We can be the same way. But point being, there's something here about this, like using your mind wisely, using the tools that you have wisely, using your manifestation powers wisely. This is not in a negative manipulative way. This is more about just to help you have the conversations necessary to propel you forward. You've got the tools to succeed. And then this card is just a random that I left in the deck just to interpret as I wish. And this is, I look at this as, because we're talking a lot about the eclipses. And the eclipses are important for everybody, but they're always very significant for the signs that the nodes fall in. And again, the north node's in Taurus, south node's in Scorpio, which is where these eclipses will take place on your ascendant-descendant axis. And so, yeah, as the final card, this is like a wild card because, Uranus is involved here, which means that you could get some surprises from left field that could be very positive and conducive for you and put you where you need to be, on the path on which you need to be, if you're resisting the movement and the motion forward that you're feeling propelled and compelled to take, because you will be feeling it. And so this is saying that if you don't do it, don't worry, because the eclipses might serve it up for you in spades. Now, again, it doesn't mean anything negative. It just means if something's not working in your life, eclipse energy can come in and just shake it up enough to make the moves for you, or to have you make the move so you can be the agent of that change. It doesn't have to be from an outside force. So don't take that in a negative or a scary way. This is just saying, change is imminent. The only constant in life is change, and death is an inevitability that we will all face several different times throughout our life, metaphorically, death and rebirth. And you're the sign of that, Scorpio. So embrace that, embrace this. There could be a situation where an angry partner or friend or somebody you were involved with in some capacity by contract, by alliance, could come back into your reality to try to poke at you and to pick things back up in a negative way. Now, I know we were speaking about mending fences with those prior, and I feel like this is a totally different energy. I want to be clear about that. On the other side of this, you can have somebody who's still angry with you from the past coming back and trying to poke, and this feels more toxic. So this is where you're going to be tested again. Don't even say anything. I know for you it's difficult to not have the last word and to not, and I mean that lovingly, and to not be able to speak your truth and speak your piece. But in this case, and you will know the difference, in this case, it's best to let it go, let them out of your life, because if you continue the cycle, it's very karmic. So if you continue this cycle, then it's going to continue and it's not going to be put to bed. And that is not good for growth going forward. And you may not see that on the external level, but it is an internal process and it may block you in other ways. So it's very significant that if this does happen, even if you're seeing red, even if they're making you furious with their commentary, because they likely will do that, they likely will poke at you. It's just very important for you to understand and to recognize this and move on from it. It's like a test from the higher powers, okay? Let's say it that way. You can pass this test, Sagittarius. I know you can. So do it. Try it out. Now then, when we get to December 28th, Jupiter will leave Aquarius and enter Pisces. Now, I feel like this is going to be a pretty positive transit for everybody. For you, though, remember, Jupiter gives us a little bit of hope and faith and benevolence wherever he touches our life and our chart. And so for you, Sagittarius Sun and Sagittarius Rising, this is actually going to take place in your 4th house of home and lineage and ancestry and security and our roots and our foundation. Emotionally, physically, spiritually. That's what the 4th house speaks to. And Jupiter entering Pisces is benevolent, also in the 4th house of Cancer, equally benevolent to water signs, and it's lighting up that 4th house for you. So this can feel extremely positive on one hand, but it can also feel very emotional for you. It could bring things up from the past about your family. You could be reminiscing and really missing lost loved ones. This could all come up for you. I would encourage you to honor their energy, honor their essence, do some sort of a candle ritual in their honor. Go into that. I think that's extremely important for you and for them. You may decide to do, an ancestry test, digging into your lineage at this point. Something you may not have thought about before could really become very focused for you at this point, Sagittarius. If you have children in your life, they could be very contentious around this time. You could be dealing with some disciplinary issues with your children or with other people's children. If you're a teacher, this could apply to reflection, especially with anything having to do with relationships. Matters of independence are definitely coming up for you under all this energy at the beginning of 2022, Capricorn. And I've been connecting a lot with music, and when I do readings, spirit connects to me through song. And so the one song I keep hearing while I'm doing this reading is Owner of a Lonely Heart. And I feel like what this is trying to convey is, have you put walls around yourself? This is the time you want to ask that question, because a lot of times when our connections don't work in whatever capacity, our instinct is to go to the other person's part or behavior in the dynamic. And we'll be aware of our own, but we'll probably tend to focus more on the other on the other's dynamic. It's usually an unconscious way of doing the deep work. But again, because of all this intensity focused on you right now, Capricorn, if ever the time to do the deep soul searching, it's going to be now. So ask yourself, do I put up walls? And how high are they? And where are they stemming from? Go back to the roots, because that's likely where the answer is for you, Capricorn. Now, on the same day, on the 18th, we have the nodal shift. So the nodes are going to move from Gemini and Sagittarius, and they're going to get out of your 12th and 6th house and move back into your 11th and 5th house. And this puts an emphasis on stabilizing the groups that you're a part of, or the friendships that you're involved in, the creative projects, any relationships. There's an element of, I want to solidify these things. And then on the 19th, the sun will leave your sign and move into the sign of Aquarius. You may find that you lose a little bit of steam and energy around this point, Capricorn, but don't despair, because then on January 24th, Mars will enter your sign. And when Mars enters Capricorn, when Mars enters your sign, you're likely going to feel a push of energy, a burst of initiative. If any steam has been lost, this will likely be the time that the fire gets resparked. Mars does very well in the sign of Capricorn. He's a warrior, he's driven, he goes after what he wants. You may also find that your libido kicks up big time under this energy, especially because we're still dealing with Venus and Pluto. It's an energy of, I want to have some fun, let's do this, what's next, let's go. And then on January 29th, Venus will station direct in your sign still. But now Venus is basically running away from the intense clutches of Pluto's claws. And she's like, please leave me alone. I need some lighthearted energy, some lighthearted fun. I've been doing enough work. I need a break. I need some reprieve. I'm coming up from underwater. So this could be what it feels like for you literally when it comes to your relations and connections. You may just be feeling this, like you can breathe again, Capricorn, because you've discovered a lot about yourself under that Venus retrograde. And we're still under this energy. So, but Venus is escaping from Pluto's claws, from Pluto's grips. Now, when Mars enters Capricorn, also there's an emphasis on the military and the police. Now, I don't think this necessarily has anything to do with you personally, but just overall, collectively in general with Mars and Capricorn energy, we can see some sort of shifting and changing along in those areas about the military and the police. And then we've got the new moon in Aquarius to kick off the month of February. So February 1st, we'll have the new moon in Aquarius. It's going to be in your second house. If a full moon in your 8th house opposite your second, we've got Jupiter and Neptune there in the second. And sometimes with the second house energy here, it is the house of Taurus, and Taurus is the house of food and, luxurious things that we like to put into our body. So you could overdo it around this full moon and just feel really bloated. So just, take notice of that if that's how you're feeling. Pay extra close attention to what it is that you're putting into your body. Again, releasing what no longer serves you. A Virgo full moon. Virgo is a sign that's very cleansing. It wants us to heal. It wants us to be productive. And the 8th house, you're getting a beat down, Aquarius. Lots of psychological stuff coming up from underneath. When we're dealing with the 8th house and the 12th house, which you've had so much focused energy there in the 12th house, you're dealing with stuff that we don't like to see the light of day. It's in there. It's internal. It's introspective. It's often unconscious. And so when these transits happen, when these planetary alignments happen, it can feel very alarming, and it can feel like we're having like a breakdown of some sort. And this happens a lot when I'm in session, when I'm working with others, and they're like, I feel like I'm losing my mind. And I'll explain to them, well, yes, because that's exactly what your chart is doing. It's forcing you to examine things that have long ago been tucked away. It's not to hurt you. It's actually the opposite. It's to help you. It's to help to break you free. It's to help set you free. Now, some are not comfortable with that energy. So some of you may really find this, oh my God, like it's awful. And this is where people literally can have breakdowns. And so again, if you do need to talk to somebody, please find your tribe, find your people, find a specialized a therapist of whatever it is that you need. But especially if there's been abuse that's been involved, do what you can do to transcend this, so that, because there's so much good here for you, Aquarius. There's so much productive energy that I keep picking up on for you to do good in the world. And ignoring this stuff is not going to help you. And I don't feel like it's actually even going to be avoidable. So again, around this full moon, March 17th, it's a Virgo full moon. It brings things up. It's going to illuminate deep stuff for you. But again, it could also be very positive when it comes to that deep stuff. And then we'll start Aries season, and the sun will move into Aries on March 20th, and we have the spring equinox. And I feel like you'll get a bit of a break at that point, Aquarius. And when we go into the spring equinox, I just feel like overall it'll be lighter for you. You'll be in a much different space. You'll have gone through a lot of these turbulent waters and become more of a skilled sailor. Okay, Aquarius. So before I started your reading, I did a little meditation. I pulled some cards for you, and I'm just going to look at them now and interpret them for you. All right. So we've got the Ace of Pentacles. We've got the King of Wands. And we've got the Empress. So this is pretty positive energy for you, Aquarius. So let's talk about this. So the Ace of Pentacles, to me, Pentacles are finances, their tangibility. It's February 3rd. Mercury will station direct in the sign of Capricorn. And She's very close to Pluto in your 11th house, bringing in the communications, strong communications with friends and people that you work with, anything that you're working with or whoever you're working with for a greater cause. Some really intense and important communications can take place at this time. You can get some very pertinent information that helps propel you forward, something that you've been sitting on or a decision that's needing to have been made. Now you get the energy, now you get the impulse, and now you get the information to help move you forward. Now, Mercury direct in Capricorn is supporting Neptune in Pisces, so your imagination is in overdrive, your impressions, your creative abilities and capabilities, and you're seeing things truly and you're ready. Now, Pluto is also trining the North Node in Taurus and Ceres in Taurus. And so this emphasis comes in about food, not just physical food, but also soul food, like what feeds you, Pisces. This all becomes crystal clear under this energy, and you can be feeling really good about it, really benevolent. Very supported, I feel like, as we move up, as we get through January and get into February, things do feel more supportive for you, Pisces. It lifts. The energy lifts. Now, as we get to the middle of February and we get to February the 11th, Jupiter is going to be in a supportive and helpful aspect to Chiron, and Chiron is in your second house, so this points to healing situations surrounding your self-worth or body image, anything that you've had going on with that, about how you see yourself. Also, this is a great time to implement some sort of a weight loss program if that's something that you've been wanting to do. You definitely will feel energized to do so. You may have gained a little bit the past year or so. I mean, who hasn't? But there's something here coming up about that, and you really getting to the place of, okay, I want to correct this, and healing. Healing is a big theme for you, Pisces, over this next little while, in case you haven't noticed. Now, on February 14th, which happens to be Valentine's Day, let's notice Venus and Mars in an exact conjunction in your 11th house. This really gets the blood pumping. This is the time where you could recognize that a friendship has turned into something much deeper, much greater, much more. It could be it doesn't have to be romantic, but I definitely feel like this is in some cases for you, Pisces. The heat is on. It's electric. It's charged. It feels good. Mercury and Pluto are also here in your 11th house, again, driving up the intensity. The communications could feel very energized, very sexy even, also very healing. The North and South Node in your 3rd and 9th house, again, brings energy into communication that could be very sexually driven even, or just communication that really stimulates your mind and makes you even more attracted to someone or someone's, or vice versa. And Venus and Mars are also really close to Vesta, which is